What's up everyone, I'm Jack Fossett and today we're checking out the Fender Custom 57 Tweed Deluxe. This video is coming to you courtesy of the Zounds affiliate program. If you want to support that, do your shopping through the links below. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. All right, this is one of the holy grail amps, and I don't say that lightly. You know, that's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but this is definitely one of the amps that really earns that title for its use in the studio and for the amazing influence on other tones that it's had over the years. Now, this is a 12-watt amplifier, and the Deluxe series is actually a long-running series. Now, this particular one, they call it the 57. This model, which is the 5E3, was made from 55 to 61. And there were iterations before that and iterations after that, but this is the one that's become most notable, particularly for its use in the studio by guys like Don Felder of the Eagles, and I've done a whole video on the use of this amp in the recording of Hotel California, and among others, Don Felder also used it for his famous solo in One of These Nights. They've been used by Billy Gibbons, Neal Young, and then there's legends of them being used by other artists, even jazz artists like Grant Green and Kenny Burrell, among many, many others. Scotty Moore is one who comes to mind as well. What's interesting about these amplifiers, now this is referred to as the narrow panel, and it has really low or clean headroom. It breaks up super, super early. You heard it in the intro on the Stratocaster, and that's a Stratocaster with vintage style pickups in it. Those are from Gunstreet. They're the 50s era pickups. Those are not hot pickups, and at 5, it's already into a very sweet, smooth, overdriven tone. With the Les Paul, which has David Allen P51s, and those are also PAF style pickups. They're not like hot humbuckers or anything. It's absolutely snarling at 5, full on overdrive. And that's of course part of what made these amps so sought after, is just, you know, the level of drive you can get. And then, you know, more levels you can experiment with at different volumes. What's interesting is it doesn't really get much louder once you get to that point. It just starts to increase in saturation, in compression, and in sag. Now, the tone of these is very soft and woody. There's really not a lot of bright top end, and what's interesting about them is I think that part of it is that the top end sort of gets naturally limited. You know, we talk about compression, but it's really like more of a limiting that's going on, where you don't get any spiky high-end frequencies, even on the bright channel, which is the instrument channel. There's an instrument channel and a mic channel, and the instrument channel is what sounds to me like the bright channel, whereas the mic channel is a little bit darker. Now, there are all kinds of things you can do with the channels, and really I think the way that you approach this amplifier is how do you experiment with the channels, the inputs, and where you have your volume set to. So for instance, rather than trying to turn it way down to get a clean tone, I actually prefer going into the second input. Now the second input is a lower gain input. So using that, you can actually get it to a cleaner level at a similar volume, as opposed to like needing to really turn, because the volume taper on it is just wild. It's like, it's already pretty loud at like 1 or 2, doesn't really do much until about 5, when it really opens up, starts to overdrive. From 5 to about 7-ish, it stays in a similar overdrive territory, and then from about 7 upwards, it's again just it's making it almost get up to that champ territory where it starts to kind of collapse in onto itself. And all of those levels, though, the variance in volume is not really that wild. So it's just a very, very interesting amp. Now, in that concept of volume, one of the cool things about it is at 12 watts, you can actually get natural overdrive out of this amplifier in real usable settings. So if you're someone who's out playing clubs, you can actually get this to a point where you're getting real tube overdrive and not getting sound guys angry at you. Particularly if you're using hotter pickups, like, you're not going to have any problem at all. So before we get going any more with this amplifier, I want to dive back in and hear a little bit of tone here. So you've just heard it in the intro jam, and I had the 2 tones were going on, where I've got the Stratocaster going into the instrument channel set at 5. I've got the tone about at 7, which is really kind of like the sweet spot, at least I found, for a number of guitars with this amplifier. With the Les Paul, I've got the channels jumped. Now, I had it fully wide open for the intro, and you heard, even with backing the guitar's volume off, it got a really, really sweet clean. So I would say that's the other way to get a clean tone out of this amplifier, is to just get it overdriven and back off your guitar's volume knob. Now, sometimes that can cause issues with literal volume. Yeah, you turn your guitar's volume down and your signal gets lower. So that doesn't always work as functionally as I think people like to say that it does, if you need like a loud, clean tone for certain parts. But it does work really well with this amp. So the Stratocaster is going into the instrument channel set at 5. The Les Paul is in the channels jumped, and now we're going to back that off to 5 too, so you can just hear a really great kind of bluesy rock overdrive. All right, so I mentioned the second input is where I like to get the clean tone from. So I want to do that now, and I'm going to show you both channels. We're going to use the Stratocaster, go into the second input in both the instrument channel and the mic channel without them jumped, and I've got the volume, again, set to 5. Now, luckily, like I said, there's not much of a volume difference. It was a little bit quieter than the number 1 input, but what's really noticeable is that there's way less gain. You get a very pretty clean tone. Now, I wouldn't get this amp wanting a clean tone. I think this is an amp you get to overdrive it. That being said, it does have a very nice clean. And because of that sort of top end limiting that sort of naturally happens with it, it records beautifully because you don't get any spiky frequencies that are coming out and, you know, things that you need to tame or really crazy volume jumps if you lay into it. It stays pretty, it's almost like it has stuff that they'd add in the studio already pre-added to it, which is, I think, probably another one of the reasons why this amp was so popular in studio recordings. So let's hear the clean tones. All right, now this is not an amp that I would necessarily say is the best candidate for a massive pedal board. However, it does work pretty well with a couple of simple pedals. And so what I want to do here is show you how you can give it a little bit of a kick in the pants just with a clean boost pedal. So I'm using a Keeley Katana Mini for this. We're going to play it at that same volume of 5. We're going to hit it with the Keeley Katana just to add a little bit of volume and a little bit of saturation. Then we're also going to try it with a tape echo. Now, it's a faux tape echo, but tape echo was one of the things that they would have used in the 50s along with these. Well, a tape echo also is a preamp. So today I'm using a Lovepedal Gen 5 Echo, which not only gets the cool tape echo sound, but it also has a little bit of a volume boost that you can dial in. So you'll hear how that, the clean boost on its own, and then also the tape style delay with the volume boost really get it up into a bit more of a punchy territory that works really well. All right, now I do want to crank this amp, both with the Stratocaster and with the Les Paul. And the cool thing about this amp, and this is, it's cool, it's interesting, it really kind of makes you think, because a lot of people say that many things are inspired by this amplifier, and they are, but they don't always get it right. You see, the thing about these old Tweed amps, particularly like this one and upwards, when I say upwards, I mean size-wise, like when you get to the basement, is when you really crank them, they don't sound like an overdrive. They sound like a fuzz. If you want the sound of a cranked Tweed Deluxe, don't get a Tweed pedal. Get a fuzz face. You're actually going to get closer to it with a fuzz face than you will be with a Tweed emulation. Because the Tweed emulation pedals usually get kind of this sweet compressed overdrive, which is a great sound. They're great pedals. And they tend to go after more that lower, less compressed overdriven tone, even at their high gain settings. If you listen to Don Felder's solo on one of these nights, many people think that he's using a fuzz pedal there. He's not. He's using a cranked Tweed Deluxe. It sounds like a fuzz. That's the only thing that I can say, is just it sounds like a fuzz. And it kind of goes to show that sometimes I think we have this picture of something in our mind that we want it to be a certain way, and in reality, it's not really. So this one just, again, when you get it up that loud, it gets that fuzzy edginess, but the tone also starts to collapse in on itself, where you've got a huge level of compression and your tone stack all kind of goes into the mid-range. So again, we've got the Stratocaster going into the instrument channel, totally cranked, and we've got the Les Paul with the channels jumped, totally cranked. Now, a little bit of tech information for you. Again, this is the 5E3, an iteration that goes back. There was a 5A3 and a 5B3 and a 5C3 and so on and so forth. And, there was the TV front. Again, there was the wide panel. This is the narrow panel Tweed. And then later on, this became the brown face Tweed. And then there's also the deluxe reverb. See, Fender actually had these sort of graduations of these models over the years that started in the 1940s, going, way, way beyond. But it was actually like these ideas kind of morphed from one into the other as they tweaked the circuit and as they added things. But, like for instance, there was a Tweed Super. And then there was a brown face Super, which had the harmonic tremolo. And then there was the Super reverb and things. And so, there's the Tweed Twin. Then you've got the twin reverb. And yeah, we don't think of those as the same amp, but they were actually, again, they were kind of like, you think about the engineers taking them and tweaking them and saying like, oh, and what if we do this and change this and add this, and, kind of responding to players' needs at the time, not necessarily stopping to think like, hey, we made some of the greatest amps of all time here. No, it's always forward thinking, and it's always responding to what the needs of the time are. So this is the 5E3 narrow panel Tweed. Now this has a 12AY7, a 12AX7, two 6V6s, and a 5Y3 rectifier tube. This is not an inexpensive amp. This is a pretty expensive amp. However, this is a hand-wired amp from a major company. So I wouldn't look at this as like a, oh yeah, this is a cool amp to try out or something. This is not something I'd get as just a chuck it in the back of your car for gigs. This is like an heirloom piece. This is like a modern heirloom piece. This is very much made the way that they would have been made, the same way as the one that Don Felder used on Hotel California, the same way that Billy Gibbons used in the studios in the early days of CC Top. So this is an investment piece, and I would look at it that way. Now, in that lens, it's not overpriced, I think. There's a lot of other amps on the market from other big companies that are more, that have sort of less gravitas around them. And I do think this is a very usable amp. Like, yeah, it has a sound. I wouldn't say it's necessarily versatile, but it is very, very usable. There's a lot you can do with it, and it makes a lot of guitars sound great. So again, I want to say a huge thank you to Zounds for getting this out to me so that I could do not only this video, but it was huge for me to be able to use this amplifier in my Chasing the Tone of Hotel California video, which I am going to link as well. Again, if you are interested in supporting that, please do your shopping through the links below, whether you're interested in this amp or a pack of strings or anything else that you're looking to buy. Any shopping you do through that link, it supports me, it supports Zounds, and it helps me do more of these videos. So please let us know what you think. What are your favorite Fender Tweed tones? What are your favorite Fender Deluxe tones? Who are some of your favorite players that played them? Let us know in the comments. I'm Jack Fossett. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
If I could only tell you what your smile means to me, but in my mind you're far away, I fall down to my knees. My rebellion